What's up, guys? This is Focus Motion here. Today is October 22nd. It's a Friday. I am going to go over the final table at the MTT I played the other day. It was only 36 runners. It was rebuys, so I think there was like about 20 or 30 rebuys or so. So it played out pretty big. Yeah, so I was during this MPT, and I was talking to a poker colleague, and I was telling him that I would record this session if I hit the final table, and so here we are. My wife was sleeping last night, so I did not put any audio on it, so I'm just gonna go over it, and I'll just pause and when necessary, and kind of go over the thought process of the hand itself, and so on and so forth. So yeah, so I kind of want to point out a couple things. I'm in the big blind, of course, obviously. I am second in chips here, and that changes throughout the video, actually. There are 10 people left. It was a 10. The bubble was at 10, so make the final table. Oh no, I'm sorry, I'll take that back. The bubble is actually 5, so 5 people make the money, and so we're waiting for 5 people to bust out. We have a couple of people here. Lizzak 88888, pretty competent, knows how to play poker, and we have Chris Meister over here. Seems somewhat tight but very spewy, and those two guys are pretty much the major force throughout the whole final table. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and continue with this. I like to fold this, even though I get a good price, cruising for a bruising calls, and I think in hindsight maybe I should have called too, because Lizzak is so short in a sense. Well, they're both short in a sense, where, I mean, I could take away a lot of pots from them, but I think I like to fold here, so let's go ahead and find out what happens. Yeah, and I think about it, and I might have called maybe, but I'm pretty sure I folded. I think this was last night, so I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, I ended up folding it, and that's fine. You know, no need to get kind of crazy. I mean, I'm kind of sandwiching between the two guys, and so I decided to fold it, which is okay. And he showed king queen, which, you know, it's just whatever. Eventually I started to organize my Hold'em manager stats. Right now they're all over the place a little bit, somewhat, and yeah, I decided to change it. This guy, Ter Bottle, is pretty aggressive, and yeah. Let me actually go back to this one real quick. Let me see something real quick here, if I can, if it lets me. Yeah, okay, so over here, we'll pause it real quick. Okay, so he raises the small blind, and he raises, and then basically in late position, and I call. I have to fold here, unfortunately. The way I see it is, potentially, he could be doing this trying to pick up dead money here, because this guy just, Steve, he limped, and generally speaking, when people limp and they have a stat, they're not really trying to trap. Usually shorties that limp are trying to trap with big hands. So I felt like, at first glance, I felt like he might be squeezing possibly, and at first one of my thoughts was, well, what if I jam over him? Is he gonna fold? But I mean, I thought there was a good chance he might have, but in the end, I decided to fold. But also, I thought if I complete this, it's gonna be implied odds that other people might call too, and my 7-8 works well multi-way, right? The only problem with this though is I don't have position on first act. So let's say I flop a good draw like 5-6 X, right? And I still have an open ender, but I'm in first position to act, so I have to check it, and then I can't. I don't really like the whole bet or check call if somebody bets out. So in reality, even though this hand plays well multi-way, I mean, I don't think it plays well in early positions, so I elect to fold here. So that was my thought process for that. Let's continue. Of course, hindsight 2020. If I had called, I would have had top two. Yeah, 'cause I felt like if I call pre-flop, one of these two guys will call, and most likely Stephen E will call because that big blind might fold. So, yeah, he bets big. He goes all in, and we'll see what happens. I think he folds here. I think he folds, yeah. And that's a huge shove too. I mean, I don't see 5-6 doing this. I see 5-6 slow playing. I think he had like maybe, like maybe I don't know, maybe even like my hand 7-8. But yeah, I don't see it doing that. So like I said, I eventually rearranged the holder manager's HUD so it doesn't block people's chip stack counts and this and that. And I also mute the people's interaction because it got kind of distracting, people talking about various things, and although I do believe that it is good to have that ability to see what people are talking about, sometimes it distracts you from the main focus here. And when I 4-3 offsuit, I obviously fold against this guy's raise. If you look down here to the bottom, you'll see his VPIP is 43, so he pretty much almost playing 50% of his hand. So it's a good spot to steal if he didn't open so big. I mean, he opened basically with like 5 times the big blind, so that's just huge. If he opened like 3 times the big blind, it might be a good spot for me to steal, even though I had 4-3 offsuit. I have position and I can steal, but I can represent a hand of some sort. But I like to fold. And also, you'll notice my stat is 17%. Yeah, VPIP. And I must say, that's not my normal style. I'm actually more aggressive than most. I'm probably like in the high 20 range in terms of voluntary entering pots with my hand. So my stats seem pretty borderline nitty. Yeah. And this is another spot where I could have, had I chose to, try to steal. And yeah, a calling would be kind of bad. It's like kind of not a good idea. But I thinking about trying to steal against this guy's limping range. And what I found for the most part throughout the final table was that this guy was very very limp cally. So he'll call cold call raises. He'll limp call raises. So it's kind of like the best way for me to proceed with that is to have a hand so that he can stack off in a sense, because he's gonna be calling off so much of his chips that makes it more profitable for me there. So 7-6 offsuit. I'm in late position. I haven't really opened up much at this final table. I haven't really played a hand, I don't think. Only when I was in my blind. I'm not quite sure, but the whole thing was I wanted to foster an image of where I was super tight, and so once I started opening up, I'd have more credibility, and it kind of plays pretty well at a certain hand versus Liz Zach later on, and you guys will see that. Actually, this is kind of ridiculous right here. I'm gonna pause it real quick here, and I kind of go back to yeah, this part right here. So if you see Steph E, he open shoves on the button for basically like 20 BBs. Oh no, 40 BBs, and that makes no sense. If you look at the blinds is 250, 500, right? So 10 BBs would be 5,000, right? So basically, he's shoving for 40 BBs, and an effective shove basically is going to be what this guy has here. So he's effectively shoving for 20 BBs. Now, then you kind of have to ask the question: is what's he shoving with, right? And he doesn't show, obviously. I don't think he has a strong enough hand, but I think what he probably was shoving with pocket pairs, most notably like ranges of like deuces, threes, fours, fives, and sixes, sevens, eights. I think nines, tens, etc., jacks, queens, kings, aces. He'd be raising on the button. It's just, and also maybe he probably could doing this with ace, jack, ace, queen. But I mean, I still think this is a big leak, and I was kind of hoping that he'd be doing that consistently, but it seems like he only does that just once or twice. I don't think he ever did that after this part. He never did it again. So it was interesting to see. So anytime I see something interesting, I try to pay close attention to it, and I try to make a note of it. So, but unfortunately, it doesn't show, because sometimes they show when they do something crazy like that. So, but he doesn't. And I think I'll make a note of it. I'm not sure. Maybe I might have. I'm not sure. Yeah. Hold there. And yeah, fold the 4-6 offsuit. And again, throughout my time at the final table, I was also monitoring, the next level up, the blind structure at that point in time, and in relation to everybody else's stack. So, like, for example, right now we have 2 minutes left for the 250, 500, and so short stack would be 5,000 or less. So who has 5,000 or less, or who's close to 5,000 less, and then who will be like short by the next level? So it would be Kiwi Hustler would be short. This guy Bottle would be short. Ton 1 no would be short. Sing would be short. So yeah. And my deuces I like to fold to. I just felt like, if I raise, I didn't want to call shove with it. It'd be a 50-50, but still, I'm pretty much close to everybody's stack size in a sense. I mean, this guy, Kuzin, and Lizak, and Steph, and Olds, and, not Old, but Chris Meister, we're all kind of equal in stacks, per se, and so, like, I didn't want to have to, like, risk anything there, so I just elected to fold my twos. Because 6th spot would be like if I raise and this guy old call. So what do you do, right? And not only that, but I quickly noted that Chris Meister with a big station. My Jack 10 of hearts here, under the gun +1, I elected to fold. I didn't want exactly what this happened right here. I didn't want to limp and this guy shoved. I didn't want to raise, and this guy shoved, because I didn't want to be committed to call off with my Jack 10 suited. I mean, again, we're in the early stages of the final table, and I still want to foster a tight image so I can exploit that later on. As it turns out, ace king versus ace queen, that's standard. And I elected to fold, which is great. Yeah, so Sing bust out in 10th place. For my queen 7 offsuit, that's fairly standard. Yeah, the chat was getting annoying, so I turned it off. But I mean, in hindsight, you should leave the chat on, as long as it doesn't tilt you or distract you, because it gives you a wealth of information as to like your opponents, what they're thinking, how they're viewing the tournament, how their mindset is, their emotional state, so forth and so on, which can give you better reads in future hands. So I decided to turn it off, though, because it was distracting me. It was late at night, and I didn't want to get distracted as much as I was already, because it was so late. Okay, this is going to be the end of part 1. I'll be doing part 2 in a second. Just have to switch over to the second vid. So I will see you guys in about 1 minute, or rather, you guys will see part two and to click on part two and you'll see it right away. But for me, real time would be 1 minute.